Hey guys, it's Kathleen, and today I'm doing an original book tag, aka the Love Simon book tag. I'm kind of nervous to be filming this video. I've never done an original book tag, but I am excited to do it. I was so inspired when I saw Love Simon, which is based off the wonderful Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, and I really wanted to create a fun tag to go along with the movie. If you have not seen the movie yet, this is not a very spoilery tag. There's a couple references to things that are specifically for the movie, but it's not full of spoilers, so you don't need to worry about that, and you can still do the tag even if you haven't seen the movie yet. But without further ado, let's just get into the questions for the tag. Question number 1 is I like your boots, and that is share a book with some cringy romance, and for that I'm going to say Every Day by David Levithan. This book follows a person named A who wakes up in the body of a different person every single day, and one day wakes up in the body of a boy named Justin, who turns out to be the boyfriend of this girl named Rhiannon. They go on a date with Rhiannon, and immediately they fall in love with her. They decide they're going to pursue her through every single body that they wake up in. I honestly don't love this book that much. I find it kind of weird, but the main reason is I just find the romance so cringy. So much insta love in this book. It's unbelievable, and I just really don't find either of the characters that sympathetic. I don't like Rhiannon that much, honestly. I think she's kind of bland, and I'm kind of like, okay, like, get over it. Like, if she doesn't want to date you all the time, then that's fine. Move on with your life. And honestly, like, I am shocked that he wrote a sequel from Rhiannon's perspective, because I think she's kind of a boring character, and A's just not that much better. Yeah, I don't like the romance in this book whatsoever. Question number 2 is Liberal University, and for this, shout out a diverse book, and I'm gonna say one that I was absolutely obsessed with last summer. I could not get enough of it, and that's When Dimple Met Her She by Sandra Manat. I was in love with this book last year. It follows this girl named Dimple who wants to be a computer coder, all this fun stuff, and she wants to go to this cool coding camp for teens, but her parents don't really support this and want her to find the ideal Indian husband. But one day they mysteriously decide to let her go to this camp, and there she meets a boy named Rishi, who turns out to be the boy that her parents think she should have an arranged marriage with, and that's really the reason they sent her there. I love the main characters. I love that Dimple's into science. I just think she's so cool and badass, and I love Rishi. He's the sweetest person ever. He's like the ideal husband, in all honesty. It's just such a fantastic own voices book. It's one of those books I recommend over and over again to people. I just think it's so good, and I love it a lot, so it's really one of my favorite diverse books. Question 3 is Drunk Simon, and that is to talk about a book character you think is adorkable, and for that I'm going to go with Daniel from The Sun Is Also a Star. If you haven't read this book, it basically follows this girl named Natasha who is going to be deported that evening as her parents had illegally immigrated to America from Jamaica. On her very last day, she meets Daniel, who falls in love with Natasha. Overall, the story is about true love and how it can happen in one day, and Daniel is just the sweetest character of all time. He's so cute and kind of awkward, and I love him so much. He just loves Natasha, and he just wants to be with her, and he just doesn't understand why he can't be, and he wants to be an artist, and he feels like he can't achieve those dreams, and oh, it's just so good. I love this story, by the way. It's a beautiful story, and Daniel is just such a lovely character. I feel really hard for both him and Natasha, but I love him so much. I think he's completely adorable, and he's the best. So yeah, if you've never read this book, you really should. I think it's so underrated sometimes, but I just think it's amazing, and I love the main characters, and I especially love Daniel. Question 4 is Blue. Talk about a book that has a surprising plot twist, and for this I'm going to say The Ending of Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. If you've read this book, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read this book, you'll have no clue. I don't even know if this qualifies as a plot twist so much, more of a plot development that I was shocked by. I really did not expect the thing that happens at the end of this book to happen. I honestly thought that the things would all turn out okay. I really just don't want to spoil this. It's still one of my favorite books. Like, I still love this book, but the ending just destroyed me. I literally didn't get over it for several weeks. I love this book. It gave me such a huge book hangover. I think it's amazing. It's just one of those books that will always have a special place in my heart, even though it has a brutal ending. Question 6 is A Goddamn Superhero, and if you have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And for this question, talk about a book that gave you secondhand embarrassment in a scene. Again, if you've seen the movie, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And for that, I'm gonna go with I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Morggy. So this is actually a pretty cute book. I really did like it. I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars when I read it. This is not me like bashing the book, but there is this scene where the main character does this really stupid thing that gets her discovered essentially by her love interest and makes him mad at her and makes him want to break up with her. And like, the thing she does is all her fault. Like, it's such a minor thing. She just stupidly leaves this thing lying around that he finds, and it's like, why would you do that? She's like, oh, I want to keep it for the memories, ha ha ha. And her friend is like, that's a bad idea. And she's like, well, too bad, it's the memories. It just made me cringe so hard when I read that. I was like, really? You're just not that bright, I guess? Like, you can see where this is going. And I felt like the author only did it to set it up to go a certain place, which is kind of unfortunate. So yeah, I had real secondhand embarrassment when I read that scene in this book, just because I was like, honey, you know what's going to happen. You know, you just won't admit it. Question 7 is Oreos, and that is a book that is just super, super sweet. And for that, I've picked Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. So Attachments is an adult contemporary novel, and it follows this man named Lincoln who's gotten hired at a newspaper in the year 2000. And essentially what his job is that the email is like a newfangled thing back in the day, and his job is to spy on people's emails and report anything that might be bad content, whatever, or they're just using it for chatting. But he comes across these exchanges of emails by these two women named Beth and Jen in the office, and Beth and Jen are good friends, and they're just talking all the time on the emails, and Lincoln is supposed to report them because they're not using it for work reasons, but he finds himself falling in love with Beth through her email. It's a little creepy at times, I guess, but like if you can look past that, this is one of the sweetest books in the world. It just makes me so happy. It is a pure happy book. I just get like good feelings when I read it, you know, when I think about it. I'm like, oh, Lincoln, like, you're weird, but I love you. And Beth and Jen have just the best friendship I've read in a long time. I think they're so sweet. I love this book as a whole. It just makes you happy. It has such a happy ending. I love it. I highly, highly recommend this book if you've never read it, especially if you don't read a lot of adult contemporary books. I think this is a really, really good one to start with. Question 8 is Ferris Wheel. Talk about a book that took you on an emotional ride. And for this, I'm going to say I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. I'll Give You the Sun is about two twins, Noah and Jude, and you follow Noah's perspective from when he's about 13, 14, and Jude's perspective when she's 16 years old, and you find out what happened in the events in between that made them grow apart from ages 13, 14 to 16. It's one of the most stunning stories I've ever read in my life. It's art in a book. It's so hard to explain, but Noah's character is an artist and he just describes art so vividly and beautifully. It has some diversity to it as well. Noah's gay and falling in love with the boy next door. It has its sweet moments for sure and its funny moments, but overall it is a really heart-wrenching story in a lot of ways. There's some tragedy to it. There's a lot of depth to it. I love this book. I'm so in love with the writing style in this book, and it's funny because I didn't love Jandy Nelson's other book, The Skies Everywhere, half as much, but this one I just thought was phenomenal and really out of this world in ways that I had never read in a book before. This is literally in my top 5 favorite books of all time. I believe it's number 3. And it definitely does take you on an emotional ride. Like, you don't expect so many of the things that come at you in this book. It really, really takes you by surprise at a lot of different points. You will hate characters at different points, but you will also come to respect and love them as well. There's nobody who is just black or white, good or evil in this book. There's so many shades of gray, and it's all about how people can belong in each other's stories and not know it. And I love this book. I really, really do. It's one of those books that I always suggest to people. It's amazing. I think it's great. It will make you very emotional and make you feel a million different things, but I think it's fantastic for that reason. 9 is a Daniel Radcliffe phase. For that, talk about your first major literary crush, and for that I am going to say Gilbert Blythe from Anne of Green Gables. I read this book when I was like 11 years old, and that was when I was just starting to like notice boys as a thing in the world, and I read about Gilbert Blythe and I was like, you are clearly the dream man. I was like in love with him. I literally thought I would like meet somebody who was exactly like Gilbert Blythe and I would marry them, and that was gonna be like my future. I think a lot of people feel this way about Gilbert when they read Anne of Green Gables. He's like the perfect, like, patient, caring, handsome friend who you just fall in love with so easily. I loved him. I was also really sad when Jonathan Crombie died, because I remember watching the Anne of Green Gables miniseries by Kevin Sullivan, and I loved Jonathan Crombie as Gilbert. He was my favorite, so yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking and really, really reminds me of when I was so in love with this character. It's so funny, but yeah, I just love him a lot. And then question 10 is Love, Simon, and that is pick a book with a happy ending that made you believe in happy endings. And for that, I'm going to pick The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. If you have read this book, you know what I mean, but this is another one by Becky Albertalli that is just so fluffy and happy and gives you such good feelings, and you're just gonna love it. I love Molly and Reed so much in this book, and the ending is just so uplifting and cheerful. I think partially because I saw myself in Molly a lot in this book, so I really liked seeing her get a happy ending. So I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll get one too someday. So yeah, I think this book is really special and important. It's so well done. I love showing the diverse characters of the world and how they all deserve happy endings. This book will make you smile so much ear to ear. It's just such a perfect book. So fluffy, and I love it, guys. I love it so much. It's so good, and it really, really does make me believe that happy endings are possible in real life too. So that's it for the Love, Simon book tag. I'm honestly nervous to upload this, but like, we're gonna see how this goes. I'm literally going to tag a million people. I don't even know who yet. I'm going to tag so many people though. You will be in the comments. I will probably tag people on Twitter too so that they know their tag. I'm so excited to be uploading this. I don't know if you guys are going to like it, but I hope you do. Definitely, even if I don't tag you, do this tag and let me know if you do. I would love to see everybody do this tag if they want to do it. With that said, that is pretty much it. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe when you're rail if you are new here. I upload videos typically twice a week, hopefully Tuesdays and Fridays, though I was on a hiatus for a little bit, so we'll see about that in the future. If you'd like to follow me on any of my social medias, links will all be in the description, but in the meantime, I will see you guys next time.